Let me ask you about AstraZeneca. We're hearing in P.E.I. they've put it on hold, and as I just mentioned, Doug Ford was being asked about it. What are you hearing about this AstraZeneca vaccine and the potential harm, I guess, for people under the age of 55?
Right. So I think as we've had several conversations over the past few weeks, you cannot ignore these potential adverse effects that are associated with the vaccine. You can't ignore them. And there have been some blood clots associated with this. Now, not all blood clots are created the same. There's lots of different ways to form a blood clot. This is a very specific and unique way of forming a blood clot. The technical term is heparin-induced thrombocytopenia-like syndrome. It's just a rare way of forming a blood clot. And you're not going to see these in the clinical trials because they're so rare. You're not going to find this when you do a clinical trial of 34,000 people. You're going to see this when it's rolled out with millions and millions of people. And with what we call post-marketing surveillance, also known as the phase 4 clinical trial, they have seen a few of these cases. It's not entirely clear what the true incidence of these cases are, but the ones that have been reported seem to be predominantly in a younger age group. I think when you balance the potential risk of having a blood clot versus the potential risk of getting COVID-19 versus the potential benefit of getting an AstraZeneca vaccine, and you look at that at various age groups and age cutoffs, I think if NACI ends up making that recommendation that they're reported to make later today, I think that's a very reasonable thing to do.
And what would we know about it, being potentially more worrisome for a younger generation? I guess the reason I ask that is because typically, you're younger, you're stronger. So what's known about that?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that we don't know enough about this process. And, it's pretty clear that the medical and scientific community is focusing very heavily on this because it's obviously an extremely important issue, right? The AstraZeneca vaccine is supposed to ultimately become one of the workhorses of the vaccines for the world, right? You don't need to have a -20 or -80 freezer. It's stored at conventional refrigeration. They're producing billions and billions of doses of this. So it's extremely important that we have a much better understanding of how infrequent these events are, who gets them, what is the risk factor for this, so that you can design a vaccine program effectively. As always, knowledge of the pace of data, the pace of new knowledge is going very quickly, and the policy has to keep up. So I think it's very fair if NACI makes that recommendation later today for using this vaccine only in those over the age of 55. I think that's a very reasonable thing to do. It's keeping up with the current pace of data.
But wouldn't the concern be, and if we get that obvious ruling from NACI, wouldn't the concern be that it's this messaging issue with AstraZeneca that could lead into or feed into vaccine hesitancy? People saying, well, it keeps changing. We keep getting worrisome information. One province saying, forget it, we're not even going to do it on this generation between the ages of 18 and 29.
Right. I mean, I agree with you completely. And I sort of divide it into two different areas. Maybe it's an oversimplification, but this is the way I think about it. What's the science? Okay. Area one is what's the science? Like, what is the process that's going on? What is the instance of this? What are the risk factors for this? And how do we best identify it? And then obviously that's extremely important because that leads into the second part is, okay, how do we best communicate this to the general public while instilling confidence in the vaccine, ensuring people are aware that, every step is being taken to be made that they have access to a safe and effective vaccine, that the health officials are clearly pivoting in real time to ensure that a vaccine is used in the safest manner possible to provide the greatest degree of protection over as many people as possible over the shortest period of time. And I think there's challenges with both the first component of the science, because we don't have all the answers yet, and of course, the communication of that knowledge and the translation of that into policy. I mean, this is extremely challenging to do, and you're really going to have to require good scientists to figure this out, which they're doing now, and also expert communicators and policymakers here in Canada. It's going to be an uphill battle. Let's be clear. It's going to be an uphill battle, right? Because obviously there are going to be some people that are going to say, you know what? I don't know what to make of this. We've heard this thing, we've heard that thing, we've had this policy, we've had that policy, and that's going to turn a lot of people off, unfortunately.
Well, and let's talk a little bit more about science and data in terms of the interval given between doses, and in some cases, 4 months, and people saying, well, wait a second, that's not what was recommended initially. What are you hearing on that front, if there would be or could be any interval changes, or if it's just simply a supply situation?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that when this conversation was being had, when people are having this conversation in December of 2020, the question was, can we separate the two doses to really provide greater vaccination to more people in a shorter period of time? And that was being debated. Now, it's pretty clear that there's decent evidence that you can separate dose 1 and dose 2. And the evidence is pretty good for a 2-month separation. It's good for a 3-month separation. It's probably okay for 4 months for most people, but I think it's fair to say that in the last few months, there has been some other data that's been generated that demonstrates that, there's probably some people that you should really adhere to the product monograph and vaccinate at day 1 and day 21, or day 1 and day 28, depending on if you're using the Pfizer or the Moderna vaccine. And it looks like those groups would be people whose immune systems just aren't functioning as well as they used to. So people, for example, with organ transplants, people who perhaps might have cancer and are on various chemotherapies or have other medications that suppress their immune system, maybe even people in the older end of the spectrum for age. I think all the provinces are looking at this, and of course, NACI is looking at this. I expect that we'll see some updates, hopefully this week or maybe even sooner, because I think that this is actively being looked at as well.